Welcome to Stock Analysis European YouTube channel. So in this video, I will talk about how my prediction is fulfilled and how the Tesla stock price reaches a certain major trend lines and then had a price reversal. So you will know how to interpret those kind of price movement from this kind of prediction trend lines. And then I will also talk about what will happen, what we are expected for the next week. That's a final week in this month. So stay tuned and welcome to subscribe this YouTube channel to show your support. So in the last video, I uploaded to YouTube 2 weeks ago, video 198, around the time of 2 minutes. So I mentioned at that time, as reached dropped down to this major support trend line. I mentioned that this is a major support trend line in this Tesla monthly chart, and it is expected to have a temporary rebound. And then during the past 2 weeks, especially last Friday of the 1 week ago, and increased $34 in just one day, and exactly reached to around this major trend line, increased over $30 during the past one week or 2 weeks. So after my prediction, so when I uploaded a video, it's around this price, $412. $412 is exactly around this blue support trend line of this major blue support trend line in this monthly chart. So, and then it had a price reversal in the coming week after my prediction. And then during that week, it increased up to this exactly the yellow trend line, resistance trend line of this weekly chart. So it increased by almost about over $30 up to this resistance trend line. And then the next week, after this week, so that's basically 2 weeks after my prediction, and it opened here and pushed up to this $450. So it increased to this yellow resistance trend line again, and then started to drop. And then when it dropped again to this weekly support trend line, $416. It's still around this monthly trend line, and then it had a temporary rebound again. So that will goes to $433. So you see, all these kind of predicted trend lines are already generated before the first data point is received for this week. And so if the previous week is completed, market is closed for the previous week, then all this price of these trend lines are already generated and will not be changed. So basically, when a new week is started, and then you can have a very good idea about what's the potential high and the potential low is for that week. For example, I can also show in 15 minutes chart. So this is the October 23rd. It went opened low. It's opened much below this trend lines. So you have to wait until it moved into this kind of trend lines, and then started to have some kind of a potential to increase the price, to have a price reversal. So this basically is a kind of a consolidation range, and then it started to increase because around this price range exactly is about the major support line, trend line around $416 of this week. And because this is a major support line, so it's still expected to increase. And then during the couple of hours, so you see it increased all the way up to this $450, increased by about $34 just in this day. And you see all these trend lines of this 15 minutes charts are all increasing. So it shows it have a very good increasing momentum. So during that one day, it increased by 34 $4. So if we change this to daily chart, that's exactly on this day. On this day, it opened low, but it's opened and then it started to drop a little bit more, try to reach this support dot, but even it didn't reach this and started to bounce up. And then for that day, it increased all the way to the top yellow trend line of this daily chart. So you see when it opened to this top yellow trend line, it reaches the extreme, the high or resistance level. So it stopped there, closed there. And then the next day it opened a little bit low, but it still reached to this top blue trend line, a little bit higher trend line, and then started to drop again because the previous day it increased too much. So this day it started to pull back. So the next week will be the final week of this month. So this is a Tesla weekly chart. So it closed a little bit above the green trend line. So early next week, so it is still may have a little bit more increasing momentum. It may increase up to this $445. Depends. It may have a potential to increase to this $452 yellow trend line, but then it is still expected to still have a fluctuation, and then it may still drop down to this $426. It's very likely the fluctuation range is between this to $427 and $453. So because if we change it back to a monthly chart, and in October, you see October when it opened here, exactly above on this blue trend line, and then increased to this top yellow trend line of this monthly chart. So typically, this level of yellow trend line, resistance trend line, typically is a high because reaching to the most top or break out and then reach to the top yellow trend line is typically is a rare condition if it have a very strong increasing momentum and if it has a real breakout. But typically for normal fluctuation, when it reaches to this yellow trend line, it will have a pullback and have started to have a price reversal and start to drop. So for this month, it dropped even down to this blue support trend line, exactly stopped there, and then had a price reversal. Had last week it closed here, and it's still closed a little bit below this trend line. And you see this trend line already have a purple color, so that means it may still it imply it will have a decreasing trend or downward trend or have that kind of a tendency. So for the current month, because it's not completed yet, so when it try to reach up to this price of $438, it may have some kind of a struggle, and it depends if it can break out of this $438 of this trend line for this month, because this is the current month. This vertical line is the current month fluctuation. So if we zoom this a little bit, so it closed here last week. So when it try to reach to this $438, it may have a little bit of struggle. And if it can break out, it may start to increase. But generally for a major resistance in monthly chart, generally it may struggle there. And there's only 1 week left. And it depends on if it can have a much higher increasing momentum and break out, but it may still have a tendency to pull back. So next week depends on that small time frame. Typically, we will see that weekly chart or the daily chart. We will see how far it can go.